Thanks for joining me. Today we're in the final weeks of closing the science of getting rich. And today we're going to be talking about some conclusions, some cautions, and some concluding observations. When we're talking about the science of getting rich, or how to get what you want, many people scoff at the idea that there's an exact science to getting rich, holding the impression that the supply of wealth is limited. They insist that society, the government, the world in which we live must change before any considerable amount of people can obtain wealth. But this is not true. It is true that the existing government keeps the masses in poverty. But this is because the masses do not think in the certain way that we discussed in the previous weeks. If the masses begin to move forward as suggested in previous conversations, neither government nor corporate America or any other system could keep them in check. All systems will be modified to accommodate the forward movement of the masses who begin to think in a certain way. If people have the advancing mind, and if they have faith that they can become rich and begin to move forward with the fixed purpose to become rich, nothing can possibly keep them in poverty. And speaking of that, I want to make mention that it seems like this is a brief commercial, but it's important. Individuals may enter in upon a certain way at any time, under any government, and make themselves rich. And when any considerable number of individuals do so under any government, they will cause that system to be so modified as to open up the way for others. Years ago, the concept of a person becoming a billionaire was things that truly science fiction was made of, because the labor environment took so many years, and excuse me, normally when someone became a millionaire even, we're talking that it took them about 20 years to amass $1 million. Now you have literally people in their 20s amassing billions of dollars in business and technology and so forth. What changed? Well, it's like the 4-minute mile. When the concept was that no human being could break the 4-minute mile, no one did. But when the first person broke the record for the 4-minute mile, what we discovered is that others said, oh, it can be done. And so people even did better than the original person who broke the 4-minute mile. Likewise, when people like Bill Gates came upon the scene, your Warren Buffett came upon the scene, and they began to amass billions of dollars in a relatively short period of time. You know, Bill Gates was this billionaire kid, you know, and many people used to scoff at him because he looked so young. But when other people begin to see Bill Gates making the transition and breaking the ceiling or the glass ceiling of the billion-dollar mindset, what happened was we begin to see the floodgates open. Now you can look at Forbes magazine and you can see this great list of billionaires across the globe, but even here in the United States. So when we begin to think in a certain way, we begin to open up the door for others to also begin living in that certain way. The more individuals who get rich on the competitive plane, the worse for others. The more who get rich on the creative plane, the better for others. The salvation of our economy, or the salvation of the economy of the masses, can only be accomplished by the getting of a large number of people to practice the scientific method laid down in this book on how to become rich. These will show others the way and inspire them with the desire for real life. With faith, they can obtain that which they desire. With faith and purpose. For the present, however, it is enough to know that neither government or the capitalists or the competitive system of industry can keep you from getting rich. When you enter upon the creative plane of thought, you will rise above all of these and become a citizen of another kingdom. We know that the great master teacher Jesus said that my kingdom is not of this world. And when we begin to think in a spiritual way, understanding that riches does not come by competition but creativity, we begin to open up the floodgates to our own wealth. We begin to become more creative. We begin to inspire creativity in others. But remember that your thought must be held in the creative plane, and never for an instant regard the supply as being limited. Do not believe that there's lack, loss, and limitation in the world in which you live, but realize that there's more than enough of wisdom, wellness, and wealth to be a blessing to every living soul. When you fall into the old way of thought, correct yourself instantly. I have an acronym. I call it STOP. Shift thinking to optimize your potential. When you see yourself off course with your thoughts, stop, cancel, delete, and begin to think about what it is you desire and not the thing that you are seemingly lacking. Whenever you fall into the old ways, you must correct yourself. For when you are in a competitive mind, you have lost the cooperation of the mind of the divine intelligence within you. Do not spend any time in planning as how you will meet possible emergencies in the future, except as necessary. You are concerned with doing today's work in a perfect and successful manner, and not with the emergencies that may rise tomorrow. Jesus said this: take no thought for what you will wear, what you would eat, because all of these things the common folk concerns himself with. But entrust yourself to that divine intelligence we know as God, Father, and know that He will in fact meet your needs when that situation arises. But take thought for the cares of this moment right now, and do what you can right now to the best of your ability. Do not concern yourself with questions of how you should surmount obstacles which may loom in the business horizon, unless you can plainly see a course of action that you can take. But if you do not see a course of action, don't give the future, as it were, your worries. Concern yourself with doing what you can right now, Creator. No matter how tremendous the obstacle may appear at the distant future, you will find that if you go on in a certain way, it will disappear as you approach it, or a way over it, through it, or around it will in fact appear. If no possible combination of circumstances can defeat a man or woman who is proceeding to get rich along strictly scientific lines, then what is it that you find yourself concerning yourself with, Creator? No person who obeys the laws of the science of getting rich can fail to get rich, and any more than someone can multiply 2 times 2 and fail to get 4. Do not get anxious about possible disasters, obstacles, panic, or unfavorable combinations of circumstances. It is time enough to meet such things when they present themselves. Concern yourself with the immediate, and you will find that every difficulty has within it the seed, the wherewithal for its overcoming. Guard your speech. Never talk to yourself or your affairs or of anything else in a discouraging way. Don't look at yourself as that gloom and gloom, but look at yourself as someone in a constant state of becoming. Becoming what you were divinely created to be. Know that God, infinite intelligence, is working in you to fulfill His purpose and plan in your life. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, plans to give you a hope and a future." Never admit the possibility of failure, because it says that we can conquer all things through Him who resides within us. So don't speak in a way that infers failure as a possibility. Know that you always succeed. It's impossible to fail. Now you say, well, what are you saying, DeCarlo, and what do you mean? Even in your failure, you succeed. You say, well, I told you I could not do that. And in fact, you were right. You were correct. Henry Ford said it this way: to the person that believes he can or cannot do a thing, he or she is in fact correct. So even in your supposed failure, you succeeded. You succeeded in bringing about the manifestation that you said that you were in fact going to bring about. That's called success, not failure. Now, you would have failed, in fact, if you said that you were going to fail, but you succeeded. Now, I know that sounds like an oxymoron or a contradiction in terms, but the truth of the matter is, if you say that, well, I told you that I could not do this, then you succeeded in not doing the thing that you said that you could not do. So begin to speak what it is that you desire, and that shall be, in fact, your manifestation. Never speak of times as times of being hard or business conditions being doubtful. Times may be hard and business may be doubtful for those who are on the competitive plane, but they can never be so for you, creators. You can create what you want, and you are above fear or fear thoughts. When others have hard times in business, and when they experience difficulty, you will find the greatest opportunity. You say, well, DeCarlo, how can I discover that great opportunity? There's always opportunity where need presents itself. Where there's a need, there's an opportunity. You feel the need, you fulfill the opportunity. Train yourself to think and to look upon the world as something which is becoming, which is growing, and that regard to seemingly evil, disregard it. See it as something being undeveloped. It's funny, many of the things that men and women of the past that were evil, we now see that often what it was a mental condition, not so much a person being demonically possessed, for example, but that they had a mental condition, maybe schizophrenic, but because we did not understand the science of the mind, we begin to coin it as something as being evil. But now we can actually help these individuals with medication and treatment and, ongoing therapy. So that which was evil years ago, now is just nothing more than a psychological malady that is to be overcome with the right technology. So don't look at an individual who is undeveloped as being an evil individual, but look at that individual as someone who has not come into the fullness of the person that he or she is to become. We all are moving from glory to glory, and some of us transcend this life at a lower level than others, but we all have room to grow. Never allow yourself to feel disappointed. You may expect to have a certain thing at a certain time and not get it at that time. And this will appear to you as failure. But if you hold on to your faith, you will find that failure was an illusion, and that the thing that you sought will in fact manifest itself or something better. Go on in a certain way, and if you do not receive the thing that you desire, you will receive something so much better that you can act, think, or imagine. This is the way that every seemingly failure works for you if you keep faith and hold to the purpose and having gratitude and to do everything which you know to do and doing each and separate act in a perfect and successful manner. You will in fact have what you say. When you make a failure, it is because you have not asked for enough. Keep on, and a larger thing than you have thought in your mind to receive will come to you. Remember this. You will not fail because you lack the necessary talent to do what you wish to do. If you go on as directed, you will develop all the talent that is necessary to do the work that needs to be accomplished. And I've seen this time and time again in my own life. When I first thought about writing my first book, I did not have the skill sets. I did not know what was needed to complete that book, but I aligned myself with someone who knew how. And once I received those tools of how to fish, for example, I'm using a parable, but once I learned how to fish, then I could continuously reproduce the act of creating those books or fishing for new accomplishments, as it were. So, whatever it is that you desire to do, begin to do that thing, even though you do not have all the necessary skills. The skills will come as you begin to cultivate the necessary skill sets. But however, do not hesitate or waver in fear when it comes to any certain place that you will fail or lack the ability. Keep going, and you will come to that place, and the ability will be furnished to you. The same source of the ability which enabled the untaught Lincoln, for example, to do his greatest work in government. The greatest work in government at that time that had ever been done by a single person or individual. You will draw upon that same mind that Lincoln drawed upon, that Edison drawed upon, that Oprah Winfrey, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Mozart, Napoleon, I could go on forever just listing names, but they all pulled from the same source of power that you have access to, creators. And it said of this source of power that it is no respecter of person, so much so that the great master teacher, Jesus, said it this way, that the works that I have done, greater works will you do. So let's move on to the greater works that we've been designed to accomplish. Let's not continue on the course of believing that we're only human. Because the truth of the matter, creator, is that you're so much more. You're a divine intelligence clothed in humanity. You're a conduit for the infinite intelligence who seeks to express himself through you. And as you listen to the voice of divine intelligence within you, begin to ask yourself, what is my purpose? What brings me the most joy? Where do I get the most satisfaction? And how can I begin to offer that service to others? Continue to listen to these series on Blog Talk Radio. And as time permits, I will see if I can get them posted out there on YouTube so that you can have access to them as well. But what I need for you to do, creators, is to continue to listen to past series and to get this information within your spirit so that it can begin to resonate, so that you can become the conscious creator that you've been designed to be, so that you can begin to create the life that you've always imagined. Make these audio programs your constant companion until you have mastered all the ideals contained therein. While you are getting firmly established in your faith, you will do well to give most of your recreation and pleasure to stand away from dialects and words and teachings that contradict what you've learned in these previous months. Don't listen to the pessimistic arguments or the conflict in literature or TV programs or movies that will take you away from the mindset of becoming that conscious creator, that which would fill you back with the concept of lack, loss, and limitation that there's not enough to go around. Find authors who agree with what you've discovered in these programs and begin to read upon these authors over and over and over again till your spirit begins to bring about the manifestation that you're seeking. You did not get where you are at the present moment overnight, and nor will you find yourself becoming the conscious creator that you've been created to be overnight. It will require that you transform your thinking, or what we call in the Christian circles, a rebirth process. You must renew your mind through new and empowering information. Spend your leisure time in contemplating your vision, cultivating gratitude, and reading books and listening to audio programs such as these. It contains all you need to know on the science of getting rich. And you will find all the essentials summed up in the following chapter and the following lesson that we'll discuss next time we meet, that will help you take your life to the next level. Have a great and prosperous week until we meet next.